You're all very welcome. I suppose we've just recently launched our Cricket Ireland strategy. We've been doing a number of roadshows around the country, the various provincial unions. A couple of you might have been there. We were in Connacht and we were up in the NCU in the last week. I think we're down in Munster this Sunday, and then we're in Leinster and in the Northwest early in the new year. But so just a little summary around the Cricket Ireland strategy. So obviously, that our strategy is very, very important in terms of setting the direction in which we're looking to go. Our vision over the next 4 years is to be a major sport in Ireland and a major nation in cricket. And the strategy is underpinned by 5 pillars. The first one is growing the game. It's very much focused around participation, performing on the world stage. Obviously, that's the high performance side of things, creating an engaging sport. That should be a bit of a typo there. Building strong foundations and working together, working as a team. So they're the 5 pillars that are that relate to our new Cricket Ireland strategy. Infrastructure, facilities will be a key theme running throughout the strategy. And I suppose to support the delivery of the strategy, we've also developed a facility strategy which was approved by the board recently. And I also do a little piece around that in the at the workshops, the strategy launch workshops. And I suppose the aim of this facility strategy is to deliver quality, welcoming, and accessible environments for all that promote positive cricket experience for everyone. So whether that's at grassroots level, whether it's a high performance level, or everything in between, that's what we're looking to try and achieve through the delivery of our facility strategy. Our strategy has 6 pillars to it. And the first one is basically around optimizing the usage and standard of existing facilities. So if you've got an existing club that's there, we want to support you and help raise the standard and accessibility of your training facilities. The next one then is relating to new facilities. We want to open up new facilities to grow the game, but also to tap into existing facilities such as from other sports. For example, as I know Ballahadreen, say for example, cricket club down in the west of Ireland, they partner with their local community centre where there's 2 football pitches, and they have a cricket strip which goes down between those, and the soccer pitches are used as the outfield area. So we want to encourage and enable new players into the game, extend the reach of the game across the island of Ireland. We're also working closely with provincial unions to help them to develop regional performance hubs so that our pathway players and our provincial players have, I suppose, appropriate facilities for which they can train and play their matches in. We're also working very closely with government to look at developing international standard playing practice and spectator facilities, both in the north and in the Republic of Ireland, of which Stormont would be the main facility in the north, and Breedy as well. And then down here, it'll be Malahide and then the National Cricket Centre, which will be based at the National Sports Campus in Abbottstown. The fifth pillar that we have is around supporting and investing in our people. So recognize, supporting, investing in the critical role of support performed by everyone overseeing our facilities and grounds management. So training for people who are involved in the delivery or operation of facilities, and for those who are responsible for the management of grounds, whether that's around playing fields or any other part of the infrastructure within clubs and our grounds. And then the final one then is around building sustainable future facilities. There's no point in building a facility and then finding out that we can't afford, or you can't afford to operate it or manage it. We also take into account, I suppose, the new world that's there at the moment, particularly around the environment and around how we manage the increased challenges that climate change will bring to us as well. So we'll be working very closely with various government agencies, etc., to try and develop our processes and our approach, and to help you plan and build a sustainable future for our facilities. So I suppose, how can we help you? How can I help you? So we've a big department, big facilities department here in Cricket Ireland. It's just me. And I'll be very glad to work with you and support you in whatever way you need. And we work in partnership with you and other key stakeholders by offering advice on quality standards, assisting with technical queries, master planning and design advice at every stage of a development, whether you're planning a new development or upgrading an existing development. We work very closely with various government departments, both north and south of the border. Obviously, we link very, very closely to the Sports Capital Programme and the Large Scale Sports Infrastructure Fund, which I suppose were significant amounts of funding that was allocated over the last year, a record amount of funding, I suppose, across all the sports, but also for cricket as well. I think we just under 40 clubs that received funding via the Sports Capital Programme. And we had a couple of very successful applicants to the Large Scale Sports Infrastructure Fund as well. And one big one, which is on the reserve list, which we hope to get across the line at a later date. We also work closely with Sport NI as well to try and signpost clubs to their funding programmes as well. So we work very closely with the provincial unions, we're close with local authorities, other government agencies, dormant accounts, or any other agency or department that has funding for sports facilities. Leader is another one. And we also work closely with our sponsored commercial entities, finance providers and suppliers as well. And so if you're looking for assistance, where do I go and get nets? Where do I go and get covers? Drop me a line and we'll help you with that. We also play a role in lobbying for and supporting the development of major cricket infrastructure projects. As I mentioned earlier on, we're working very closely with government in terms of the National Cricket Centre at the Sport Ireland campus, and you'll see the image up there on the right-hand side. We're hoping that a planning application will be submitted in early Q1 of 2025, and hopefully construction start on the facility then in 2026, and with a view to finishing phase 1 of that project just before the World Cup, about a year before the World Cup, which is going to be held here in Ireland in 2030. So lots of bits and pieces going on, and some great work going on. And as I said, we're here to support you. And if I can't answer your question, we'll find somebody who can. All right. So we're going to move on now to, I suppose, the topic from tonight. And I suppose this is a workshop which is the purpose of informing those who applied and were successful in securing funding in the most recent Sports Capital Programme or on a previous round of the Sports Capital Programme. Okay, so those of you who have not received funding, we're not going to tell you how to apply for funding in this workshop. That's a different workshop. This is for those who have been allocated funding, would have received their emails over the last few weeks from the Department of Sport or earlier on in the year, if you were in the first round, and are looking to draw down your funding, how to get approval to commence your project and to draw down the funding. It's probably unlikely that there'll be another round in 2025. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. Normally, like the amount of money that they've given out this year would suggest to me that the next round of sports capital funding would probably be in 2026. But I could be wrong on that. But I just from my experience, I think that would be a likely outcome. So, so as I said to you, be warned. This is for those of you who have been allocated funding already, and you want to look at how you can start your project and draw down the funding. Okay. I suppose we will, as Emma mentioned earlier on, we'll probably have a couple of natural breaks in the presentation, and maybe we can take questions then. So the first section of the presentation will be how you get approval to start your project, and then we might take a break for questions then, Emma, and then the second part will be, so you've got approval. Now you want to you want to start your project, and then how do you get paid or repaid and draw down your allocation? So that'll be the second part of the workshop. Okay, we'll move on straight away. Okay, well, I suppose, look, you've done a lot of hard work, and I suppose applying for your sports capital grant, you had to go look for your quotes, you had to fill in the application form, you had to get all of your appendices together, and you uploaded all that and manage to manage your way through the application form, which is quite a complex one. Thankfully, I think it'll be the last time that particular system will be in play. They will be bringing a new one in for the next round of sports capital. But so you've done a huge amount of work, and then you've got an allocation. So congratulations, the first part has been done and you've been successful. So I suppose really what we're looking at here is what happens next. Okay, so you would have received your email from the department provisionally allocating your grant. Some of you who would have gotten your allocation of funding probably, I think it was around May, June, you would have received that a few months back. And then those of you who got your allocation more recently, you would have gotten your email recently as well. And the email explains what you must submit for the project to be formally approved. Okay, so it's really, really important that any work done, that you understand that any work done prior to the date of the provisional allocation email will not be paid for by the department. So if you were looking at putting in new nets and you applied for that, and you've started and you've done that work already before you've gotten approval from the department to draw down your money, they will not pay you. So no work should commence until the email giving formal approval is received from the department. Okay. So any work undertaken prior to formal approval is done at the club's own risk and may not be reimbursed by the department. Okay. If you have any questions, and as I said, after tonight or whatever like that, feel free to call myself or call the department directly. Okay. The department, they have people who work with different counties. Some of the officials might cover 2 or 3 counties. So feel free to give them a call, and I'll show you now in a second where you can get their contact details. Failing that, if you want to give me a call or get in contact with me, I'll be able to guide you through it. One of the things that you can do is, so say, for example, if you ended up applying for new nets, say, for example, and you were lucky enough to have received funding from some other source, and you went ahead and did that before the allocation was received, you can look for a change of use of that grant. Okay. However, you have to go through a process of engagement with the department. But look, if you need any advice around how you do that and how you make that submission to the department, feel free to give me a call. But if you need to contact the department, basically what you do is you go into you'll all be familiar, I think, now with the Sports Capital Program portal, and you go into the homepage there, which is sportscapitalprogram.ie, and you will see that just here where I've got the red square here, you can get a list of the officers dealing with each county by clicking on that, and up will come the list and the phone numbers of the different officials that will work with you in your department. So feel free to give them a call anytime. I've spoken to a number of clubs over the last couple of weeks, and they've commented about how friendly and how supportive and how helpful those officials are. So feel free to give them a call at any time. Okay, so getting formal approval. So this is the first step that you'll need to do. So in your application, when you're making your application initially, you only had to get one quotation, right? And you have to give an estimate or pre-tender estimate for your project. Now you've got to go through a situation where you've got to go get 3 comparable tenders or quotations for each element of work being done or the equipment sought. So what we have here tonight is we've probably a mix of people who have received funding for a capital project. So maybe upgrading their changing rooms, maybe the provision of a new nets, or maybe a new square or something like that. And then you've got some people who will maybe have gotten an allocation for equipment, to draw down equipment, maybe side screen or a scoreboard or something like that. So what I'll do is I'll touch on both, okay? But what you will need to do is you'll need to get 3 comparable tenders or quotations for each element of the work sought, or equipment that is sought, okay? Now, the department will say to you that it's usual to proceed with the lowest tender. So you get 3 quotes in, they will generally prefer that you go with the lowest tender. However, you can, and there is an option there to go with a higher amount, maybe the first or the most expensive or the second most expensive, provided that you have an appropriate justification for that. And the justification for that could be something along the lines of that it's a better standard of product. It might be that the warranty is better. It might be that the builder, if it's for a capital project, might have a better experience around cricket facilities. So you will have the option to persuade the department why they should go with your tender if it's not the lowest one. Okay, and I'll talk to you about that and how you do that in a few minutes. If the preferred tender is for more than €10,000, you must upload a tax clearance cert for the chosen supplier contractor. So whoever you're buying from, whoever you're getting your quotation from, or your tender from, it is vital that at the same time they're submitting that to you, that they submit an up-to-date tax clearance certificate for that. You will need that. And you should scan and save these and the details of that to a folder on your computer screen, on your computer for ease of access, because you will need that. You'll need to upload those to the portal. So that's really, really important that you get a tax clearance for the supplier who is doing the work, or the contractor that's doing the work. It's also really important that your own tax clearance certificate is also in date as well, because you will need that for your club as well. Okay, I suppose the next step then is you must have full planning permission if required for the project. So if you're doing a capital project, you must have your planning in place, or have the letter from the local authority, which basically states that you don't need planning permission, but you will need that. If the department are not satisfied that it's that something's missing, they will not give you approval. So let's make sure that you do that. The next thing then is relating to a deed of covenant. And if a deed of covenant and charge is not required, you will need to have all trustees sign trustees or directors of the club sign the declaration form and have it witnessed by solicitor. And I'll go into a little bit more detail around that. What is the declaration form and what is the deed of covenant? Okay, but one of the documents that you need to upload is a thing called the declaration form, and that is available on the department portal as well, on the Sports Capital portal as well. And I'll show you how to download that now in a second. So if you basically log into the Sports Capital program portal, this will come up for you, okay? And you will see down on the left-hand side, you've got a number of buttons that you can press. So dashboard, organization details, application, schemes, drafts, and documents. So you click on documents, and then you can click on here, and you're able to download various document templates. And one of those document templates is a declaration. So if your grant allocation is above 15,000 euros, you just basically download the form there. And if the grant is for less than 15,000 euro or 15,000 euros or less, you just click it download there. There are a number of other I suppose templates that are there for you as well, which you can use. I think one of the ones would be let me see, where is it now? The certificate of compliance. So this is another document that you will need to do, and that's something when you're submitting payments and you're looking to get your final payment, you'll need to submit a certificate of compliance that basically you've met with the terms and conditions of the Sports Capital program. So they're probably the documents that you'll need to download at the start. So save them onto your computer, download them and save them onto your computer. So the certificate of compliance and the declaration for grants, whether that's above or below the 15,000 euros. So a little bit about the deed of covenant and charge. Now, this may not relate to most of you, if any of you, but I'll go through it very quickly anyway. Some of you might have gotten Sports Capital allocations before, and you may have cumulatively gotten more than 400,000 euros. And if that is the case, then you will need a deed of covenant and charge. This basically is a legal, I suppose, agreement between the club and the government or the Department of Sport, which basically protects the government investment in case the ground is sold. So, a club might get 400,000 euros of a grant, and then say, 2 years later, say, look, we're going to sell this. We've got an offer here to sell this. And basically they go and sell it. So what happens to the grant that's there? Well, the government will be looking for that money back. Certainly they'll be looking for a portion of that money back, because the charge on the property depreciates over 15 years. So basically over 15 years, 1/15 of the amount of the grant value will be amortized each year. So that's the way that works. So if there's a first charge, if the first charge required on your property, you must forward a letter from your solicitor stating that they act on your behalf and you have title to the property which can support the charge. So you can just deal directly with the department on that. You don't necessarily have to go through the portal. Just deal directly with the department on that, and they'll advise you what to do in that regard. But you will need a solicitor, and you will need the solicitor to do a little bit of work for you. So there may well be a fee related to that. If there's an existing deed of covenant in place, so for example, maybe after the previous round or previous rounds, you would have had a deed of covenant in place. Basically, the deed has to be updated, and the new grant will be added to the existing amount on the deed. Okay, so if you need any more information about that, just contact the department directly. It's fairly straightforward. But for the vast majority, I don't think you'll need that. Now, if you're allocated, that should be 400,000 or less, and which is pretty much everybody here, I think, on the call. As I said earlier on, all tax clearance certs must be kept up to date for the duration of the project. So that is your own club tax clearance cert, but also the supplier's tax clearance cert. If you change supplier in the middle of the project, they too must have clearance. Okay, and you'll need to let the department know. So say for example, I'm just trying to think of an example here. So you have a project. Say you're upgrading your clubhouse, and or you're, say for example, buying cages, for your club, net cages for your club, and the supplier that you have originally gone and you've got an approval for and you've got the tax clearance for, say you go out of business or decides, oh, look, I don't have that in stock now, and you decide to go somewhere else, you will need to make sure that they have a tax clearance, and you will need to let the department know that this is your new supplier. Okay, so that's because you do not want to pay out money and then be told by the department, sorry, we're not giving you that money back because you've used a different supplier or because they have no tax clearance. So that's really, really important. The other thing as well is, as I said, don't give money, don't pay anything out until you receive the current tax clearance cert from the supplier. Otherwise, you will likely be out of pocket. Now, I suppose the other thing as well is, and again, this probably doesn't relate to anybody here, where you've got a project. Sometimes it's the second phase of a project, and sometimes the OPW, who are a technical advisor, might be engaged by the department with the project. They may have a role in monitoring the project, but I don't think that's the case for you, so you don't need to worry too much about that. And this is another one here. It's unlikely, given the size of the projects that Cricket has received, it's unlikely that the department will appoint a technical supervisor. And they wouldn't do this for equipment, but they would generally do this for big projects, like a big major clubhouse project or something like that. And generally, they have the ability, or they have the right to appoint a technical advisor to monitor the project, to make sure that it's being done correctly, make sure that the money is being managed correctly, monitor progress, certify payments, and in certain cases inspect site work. So it's just really a mechanism there to make sure that there's no fraud being committed. And it's just something they've got to do. But again, I don't think that's something that you have to be worried about for the size of the grants that have been allocated for Cricket in this current round. So now we're going to go in and we're going to talk a little bit about how you get formal approval for your project to commence. Okay, so you're all familiar, as I said, with the portal. You click in, log in, and all of you are probably the person who made the application in the first place. So you should have your username and your password as well. If you don't, find out who that is in your club, and because you will need to get that in order to log in. And then you'll get this dashboard that will be in front of you, and you'll be given a number of different options. Apply for a grant, so that's obviously closed at the moment. And then the second one in is apply for formal approval for the existing grant, and that's the one that you've got to click. Okay, and then you'll be brought into a new page, and this will allow you to upload documents. And there's certain documents that you'll need to upload. So you can see this is what will come up. Project title. So this will tell you what your project title is. So say clubhouse development or equipment purchase. The project summary that you put in as part of your application. The scheme name, which is it'll be the 2023 Sports Capital Programme. You may well see previous allocations that are there, and you might have some money left over from a previous round, so that's something that you can still apply for, and you can still use up that money. And if it is for something different than what you've applied for, you can just talk to the department about a change of use for that remaining amount of money. This is the grant number here then as well, and then the application status, which is grant provisionally allocated. So basically you just click on that and it'll bring you down into the next page, which allows you to add documents and upload the documents that you will need for getting your formal approval from the department. So this is what comes up, and you'll have a drop-down box. I suppose it's here. So the first one is document name, and that could be quotation 1. And the document type, if you click on that, and you'll end up getting something like this. So you'll have an opportunity to put up your declaration form. So I mentioned about the declaration form earlier on. You will have drawings and plans. If it's a capital project, planning permission, the final planning permission, if that hasn't been uploaded previously. And then if it's for equipment, quotation, what's the first quotation that you have, or and then you just click on add. So the way to do this is, so basically when you click on that, you will basically be asked, click on that declaration form or the quotation or tender for drawdown, depending on. So this one will come up if it's a capital project. This one will come up if it's just for equipment. Okay. So basically, what you do is you click on browse, locate the file you wish to upload. So that's what I'm saying to you, that on your own computer you should collect all this documentation first. Collect your 3 quotes, collect the tax clearance certs, save them into a particular folder so that you have ease of access to them and you're able to click on them and upload them as required. Okay. So let's look at here. So this is what you'll have. So basically, this is one here now for for equipment. So the document name, so we just put in there mower quote 1. Document type, so it's a quotation. You click on browse, you upload your first quotation. The name, you type in the name of the supplier, Dublin Grass Machinery or whoever it is. What is the supplier quotation amount? Okay, and then you click on a little box. Is this your preferred quote or supplier? So you'll do this 2 or 3 times. So if the first one is not your preferred quotation, you don't have to tick that box. Okay, if it is your preferred supplier, you click on the box. They'll ask you for the supplier tax registration number, so you should get that from them. That'll be part of the tax clearance process, and then you will be asked to complete, if this quote is the preferred quote or supplier, but it is not the cheapest, please provide a reason why it is your preference, right? And you've got 200 characters maximum to do that. So you just fill in that there. So you might say, well, look, it is the best quality product. We've looked at the others; they're not as good quality, and we're confident that there's better value for money for paying the higher amount. So if that's what you choose, and then the purchase of the grant mower or whatever else like that. So that's what you do, and then you just click add. So you will do that 3 times to get your 3 quotations up. If it is a for a capital project, it's very, very similar. So basically, quote number 1, you upload the contractor that you're using, you upload his quotation, what their name is, and so on and so forth. So it's exactly the same type of a process. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Again, if you have any problems with it, contact myself or contact the department directly, and they'll help you do that. So you've got to do that 3 times and get those uploaded. Then the system may then look for bank details of your organization, right? And so obviously they want to know who do they pay to, and what's the bank account that they should be paying in. So it's important that you ensure that these are correct, as this is the account the department will pay the grants into. Okay, and then at that stage, then you click save and submit. So you've got your 3 quotations up, you've uploaded your bank details, everything seems to be in order, and then you hit save and submit. Okay, and basically, if everything is okay, right, and the system may look for an additional document to upload it, particularly if it's in relation to a capital project or a building project. They may look for some additional information, but generally, if it's for equipment, everything will be there. You'll have uploaded everything, and you'll be fine. And what they will do then is you will get an email back from them, basically saying that you've submitted the details correctly, and the dedicated team member looking after applications in your area will contact you if more information is needed or something needs to be corrected. So you'll get an email back from them. Thank you for submitting documents. These will be reviewed by the department, and you will be contacted in due course. So they will send you an email back to say, yeah, you can now go ahead and start your project. Or they may say, we need more information, and they will contact you directly around that. Okay. And then, so that leads us up to the stage where you get formal approval. So has anybody got any questions just around that first part of the process around securing formal approval? No? Nothing there, Emma?
No, nothing in the group chat either.
Okay. And as I said, look, we'll send this up, or send this presentation out afterwards as well, and a copy of the recording. And as I said, if people have any questions, do come back to us. Okay, so you've got formal approval, which is fantastic, and allows you to get on with your project. So it's another box ticked, another step another milestone on the journey of delivering your project. Okay. So the next step we start looking at is how are grants paid. So the department pays out grants in stages as your project proceeds and upon submission of detailed, valid, paid invoices. So you have to pay for the equipment or pay for the work that's been done first. Then you upload the invoices, you upload the certificate of compliance and so on, and you upload a proof of payment, which is usually a statement from your bank showing that the money has gone out. And then once that's done, the department will pay you back. So I'll just go through that again in a little bit of detail. Okay. So remember, the department pays out grants in stages. So sometimes if you're planning a big project, big capital project, say it's a clubhouse, it might be a couple of €100,000. You may not want to you may want to manage your cash flow. You may want to manage your bridging finance if you have that. And you might say, okay, we'll do this and agree with the contractor that he will be paid in a number of different stages as your, I suppose, cash flow allows. And so phase one might be, okay, we're doing the ground, or we're doing the foundation work first, and then he'll submit an invoice that is checked by your architect or your advisor, and then basically that's stamped. You get your certificate of compliance from your architect, and then basically you pay the person, and then you submit the invoice, pay the invoice. You submit that along with the certificate of compliance into the department, and I'll get into a bit more detail about that now. It's a little bit more straightforward if it's just equipment that you're looking for. You just need a detailed, valid, paid invoices, a copy of those, and receipts, and so on and so forth. Okay, so sorry, receipts won't be accepted for payment. Okay, so it's the detailed, valid, paid invoices that you will need. And as I said, you will also need the proof of payment as well for equipment. So let me talk about the invoice, because this is really, really important as well. So a proper invoice should be made out to the club. So it shouldn't just be made out to Emma Butler because she's the person who is, who's working on behalf of the club. It needs to be made out to the club, and it needs to be made out to the name of the club that is the club is registered under. So I'll give you an example of one now. So Cricket Ireland is our trading name, but our name on the Sports Capital League is the Irish Cricket Union. Okay, so it's important that you make sure that it's the right name, and the name that you're registered with the Department of Sport for is utilised. Okay, so the invoice must be made out to the club. The invoice must contain the contractor or supplier's name, their address, and their VAT registration number. Okay, really, really important. Okay, the next thing then is that it's clearly marked that it is an invoice, that it's not a pro forma invoice, or it's not a receipt. It has to be an invoice. It should have an invoice number as well, and contain a clear description of the work or goods purchased. Okay, including a clear VAT breakdown, whether that's 13.5% or 20%, whatever the VAT rate is. Okay. Please note that payments will only be made for works done in relation to the purpose for which the grant is allocated. So if you were allocated, the department came back and in their allocation letter said, yeah, we're giving you funding for the purchase of non-personal sports equipment, cages, nets, scoreboards, etc. And you end up going and purchasing personal equipment, for example, cricket bats or shin pads and stuff like that. That is not what the grant is for. So the department will not approve that for payment. Okay, so it's really important that you only seek payment for works for which the grant was allocated for. Payments will only be made for invoices from approved suppliers. So remember what I said to you before, that you have to upload who your supplier is, upload the tax clearance, make sure they have a tax clearance number, so they have a tax number. And it's really important that they're the ones that you have invoices for, because if there's somebody else and they're not approved, well, then the department will not pay out. Okay, so the department will only reimburse you for works or equipment with the approved suppliers for which formal approval has been issued, and no reimbursement will be issued for invoices settled with cash. So do not pay cash. All right, even though you might be getting a little bit of a better deal, do not pay cash, because the department will want to see that the payment has been made and that it's come out of your bank account. Otherwise, they will not pay out. Okay, so clubs will have to pay out money first and then get it reimbursed by the department. All the grants will be repaid by electronic fund transfers, and you should ensure bank details for your club are correct in the portal. So they're really, really important things that are there. So the rate of payment. So the department will reimburse you 95% of the paid invoices until the value of the grant has been issued. Okay. Okay. So that should be straightforward enough. So if you've got a grant, say if your project costs 200 grand and you've got 100 grand from the department, they'll give you 95,000 euros. Sorry, 105,000 euros of the funding. So 95% of that, and they will keep the last 5% until a couple of things have been done, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. So next thing then is, so you have gotten your approval. How do you move on and apply for your funding? Well, you go back into the portal, and you'll see here on the dashboard, you had used this one before, which is apply for approval. This one here is apply for payment on an existing grant. Okay, so it's the third one in here. And again, you're sent to an apply for payment page. And on the right-hand side, there's a gray box, which you'll see there. Let me get rid of this screen here, or this thing here. Move that down there. You will have an apply for payment section here, which you click. So you can see that there, the title of the project, the reference number, the status, formally approved but fully outstanding, scheme name, the amount allocated, and the amount remaining. So that's what you'll have there. And that you just click on that gray box there, and that'll bring you into the portal again. And again, it's very, very similar. The purpose of the payment, equipment, stage one, you want to add the document and then hit apply. Okay. So basically what you get is, in terms of when you're adding the document, you'll get very similar. It's the document name, the document type. Is it a certificate of compliance with the terms and conditions of this program? So you'll need that in order to draw down your money. Is it an invoice, and is it a proof of payment? So there's three things that you'll need to upload when you're drawing down your first payment, or which is the certificate of compliance with terms and conditions of the program. But if you submit that with the first payment, then the other ones then are you only need to upload the invoice and proof of payment. Okay, and then you basically click on apply, and this will send the document for payment request. This will send a document for payment request to the club's designated contact person within the department. And if there are any issues, the designated contact will let you know if there's anything that needs to be amended in order for the payment request to be processed. So if there's an issue with the tax clearance for the supplier, if there's an issue with the bank statement, or if there's an issue with the certificate of compliance, they will do that. So you've got to do that for each payment that you're seeking. Okay, probably best if you've got some equipment. Probably best to collate and do that all at one go if you can, right? Rather than going, okay, well, I'm just going to look for payment for this one here now, and then this little bit later on, and then this little bit later on. Try and get all of your equipment done as best as possible. Where you probably do phased or staged payments would be if you're undertaking a capital project, and you may well want to do it at different stages of the build or the development of the project. So I mentioned earlier on, the department will retain 5% of the grant, okay? And they will do that, and they'll hold on to that until they receive the following, okay? So basically, if this is a capital project, they will want a sign. You've often seen this probably sign when you go visit other clubs. There's a sign that they have, which basically states the project has been funded by the Sports Capital and Equipment Programme with proceeds of the National Lottery, and that should be prominently displayed at the facilities. The department will provide that for you. So you just contact them and look for that sign. And then you need to put that sign up and take a photograph of it. And you need to send that back down to the department. You don't do that through the portal. You just do that via the email to the person who you're engaging with down there. The other thing that they will want is confirmation from your technical supervisor. So this is again for capital projects, your architect or your engineer or whatever, who must be a member of a professional body, Engineering Ireland or the Royal Institute of Architects of Ireland, etc., that the works have been satisfactorily complete in all respects, and that the defects liability period has expired, and that all matters are in order. So again, you don't have to worry about that if it's a capital project, okay? And then the third one, which is again for capital projects, confirmation that any legal charge on the grantee's property has been registered. So remember, we spoke about the deed of covenant to the charge that's there. So they're the three things they will hold back the 5% retention on. If it's just for equipment, they won't hold back 5% retention. Okay. Again, I spoke earlier on about the department monitoring projects, etc. The department monitors projects in the following ways. So what they do is when you're making a second or subsequent payment request, they will ask you to confirm via the portal that the previous payments were received. So this is to make sure that the money has gone into your account. So you'll be asked to declare that. Okay. And I suppose you also must confirm compliance with the terms and conditions with each drawdown request. So if you're drawing down your funding in different stages, you will have to draw down, or you will have to upload the compliance with the terms and conditions of the Sports Capital program template that you have. Okay, but again, that should be straightforward. And the department does have an active capital inspections program and randomly inspects facilities and all associated documents. So it'd be rare that they do it. I mean, there's a couple of thousand clubs that have gotten funding. They won't do it for everybody, but they may well do it for 10 or 15% of them. So you may well get a call around your project, and it doesn't have to be a big project, it can be a small project as well, but they do random inspections from time to time to make sure that what you said was built was actually built, to make sure that what equipment that you said you purchased was actually purchased. So it's really important that you keep a record. So for example, if that equipment is there and it's being stored at the club, you make sure that you know where it is, and it doesn't disappear off site or into the boot of somebody's car and disappears, never to be seen again. So it's really important that you do that, because you will be asked to reimburse the department, and you may well be, if they feel that there's fraud there, that you may well be struck off the list, and it could be 5 years before your club gets back onto the list again. Again, around advice, keep the department officials updated in relation to any project delay. So if you're not in a position to draw down your fund or to start your project, for example, you were looking at upgrading or maybe putting in new practice nets, and the cost of them is €200,000, and you only got 50,000 in the of an allocation, and you don't have the balance of funding, obviously you're not going to be in a position to move forward. So keep the department officials updated. You may well get an opportunity to apply again for additional funding, or your circumstance may change later on. You try and maybe get some additional bank funding or whatever, bank loans. Just keep the department updated. There is a sunset clause on funding. They'll never do it if the department are kept up to date. But if they don't hear anything from a club in a year or 2 years, then it is. So I just need to check something there. Yeah, if they don't hear from you, they may well pull the grant from you. Okay, but that's very rare that they would do that. I suppose generally what you would find is once you submit all your documents and submit the request for payment and everything is in order, generally within about 10 days to 2 weeks that you will get the money back into your account. Which is pretty quick turnaround. The longest delay in the drawdown of a grant can be complying with the legal requirements, but I think for the most of you, when I say legal requirements, that's a deed of covenant or anything like that. There's issues with that, but if make sure that you get all that sort of stuff sorted before you start your project and look to draw down the money, because that can be a delay, and that can be a bit of a pain in the neck, to be quite honest with you. And if you've got bridging finance or have borrowed money to cover the initial drawdown, then you'll be the banks will be earning interest from you. So that's important to make sure you get all those things in place first. Make sure that the work being undertaken is in accordance with the allocation made. I've outlined that earlier on. If you have any query, contact the relevant department official looking after your grant. And this is something as well. The department officials, they don't have any technical expertise related to cricket. They wouldn't have a clue. Some of them wouldn't have a clue what a wicket is, what covers are, what a cage is, and what it's for. And if you have any queries around the technical requirements or the technical merits of one brand over another, the department are not the people to talk about. Come and talk to myself or Emma or your union, provincial union, and they will provide you with any advice that you might require. And if they can't, we'll find somebody who will. Okay, so that's pretty much it from me. Okay, guys. Well, listen. I hope you found that informative. I hope you found it useful, and we look forward to catching up with you again in the future.